Welcome all. Whether you're listening via radio wave on 97.5 FM, via internet on the app TuneIn Radio or similar app, or via cable Bahamas, channel 951. We appreciate you and we humbly welcome you to our show. The voice that you're now hearing is that of yours truly, Captain Glenwood Alexander Bain. Most people refer to me as Captain Bain. Some get rather formal, call me Mr. Bain. And of course, my family and close friends know me simply as Glenn. This is show number 11, people. So please, get comfortable as we engage discussions on quite an interesting topic. My guest here is so phenomenal. Couldn't wait to get him on the show. He didn't know, but he used to be my mentor back in the day. Can't wait to get him on, people. Our topic tonight, HMBS Flamingo. Her position voyage from England to Nassau and the eventual drastic aftermath. We're going to delve deep into the route taken while crossing the Atlantic Ocean and touch on the event of May 10th. So buckle up, folks, and join us on this sobering and most informative revelation into the impact of the delivery of and the subsequent fighter jets attack on the HMBS Flamingo. Our sponsors for tonight's show, One-on-One Pharmacy. Listen, people, you want good treatment when you need medication? Check with my little cousin Chantel Heels McBride and her lovely team of One-on-One Pharmacy. Fill your prescription at the store or send your refills via the online site, oneononepharmacy.com. The two locations, East Street South, Charles Sanders Highway. When you walk in, you'll be treated with utmost royalty. While there, say hello to my good cousin Stephanie. Yeah, me and her grew up together. Chantel mother. And just let everybody know in the store that Maritime Matters sent you there. And we also sponsored by Bahamas Maritime Connection. Yes, we proudly provide a full slate of ISPS maritime security services. All the way from the ISPS security assessment, we generate the ISPS plan, ISPS audits, we do all the full slate of the test training, we provide ISPS consultancy, and so on. So don't be shy, you can hit us up, and we are ready to go with your ISPS requirements. We are thirdly sponsored by Totally Secured Security and Investigation Services. They are headquartered 8 Mile Rock, Grand Bahama. For all your security guard duties or security investigations needs, please give my good buddy Andrew Stark a call at 819-8944. He and his certified security team will see you straight. That's Totally Secured Security Services at 819-8944. To the listening audience out there on Radio Land, it will be remiss of me, of course, to go any further and not introduce my wonderful, capable producer. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you the insatiable, the man of the hour, the man with the power, the one and only Craig Gibson. Hey, all right, Craig is giving you guys a hearty wave. You're listening to Maritime Matters, people. On this show, we talk maritime. Maritime Matter is weekly at 19:30, at 7:30 p.m. every Tuesday, here on Love 97 FM. The purpose of this show is to highlight persons, as people, that made significant contributions to maritime in the Bahamas and to sensitize Bahamians of opportunities, jobs, all that good stuff in the maritime sector. Halfway through the show, we will open the phone lines. The number to call, 326-8255. Repeat that, 326-8255. We're not going to get to them opening lines so soon because my guests have so much information to give out. We may hold you up a little bit for that. Meantime, allow me to revisit some of our existing local maritime matters. Of course, Crystal Symphony and Crystal Serenity, ships belonging to the Genting Hong Kong Group, remain under Admiralty arrest, anchored off Freeport. Secondly, the sinking of the tanker Tropic Breeze by the super yacht Utopia 4. We continue to await the completion/release of that investigation report. And thirdly, we continue to await the outcome of the investigation surrounding the tragic sinking of the small vessel that took the lives of 39 persons while transiting from Bimini to Florida. You may recall, one person was found along with the vessel, 39 missing and feared dead. So there you are. Current maritime matters in a nutshell. And as you know, at this point, I once again highlight 5, not 4, 5 of our maritime standards of the past. May their souls continue to rest in peace. These celebrities are, of course, HMBS Flamingo infamous skipper, Senior Commander Amos Roll. And tonight's topic is all about Senior Commander Amos Roll and his crew. Port Controller Extraordinaire, Mr. Leon Flowers. Our sloop sailing king of all times, Captain Wally Gray, the man that gave us the song, Wally Gray, about y'all know how that go. Wally Gray. And last but not least, we have a twin. I always talk about Sir David Knowles. And Sir David Knowles is our Olympic gold medal sailor. But it was recently brought to my attention by my good friend Jerome J.T. Thompson that Sir David didn't do that on his own. Sir David had a crew, or both of them made up the crew for the Star Class ship. The name that I have missed out from show after show is Mr. Cecil Cook. And tonight I introduce to you our 5th member of that long ago maritime enthusiast that kept all of us going. Household names, Cecil Cook. And now, on a more international maritime front, I reiterate my views on the current conflict that is dominating the world, the maritime world feud, that Russia invaded Ukraine. As I stated already in numerous shows, the way I see it, this is a done deal. Russia will eventually succeed in the occupation and control of Ukraine, and no other country will make a significant attempt to stop her. In the process, though, note that Russia continues to treat Ukraine as a little brother and not act like a bull in a china shop. Russia even retracted from trying to get into Kyiv. People query, oh, they couldn't get in. Trust me, there's no such thing as Russia cannot take over Kyiv, Russia cannot take over Ukraine, because that's not a hard job for Russia to do. Russia just don't want to go in there barging and beating and killing up people like some other people might do. Reason being, they want minimal collateral damage in the process to their occupation. But you can be sure that when the cookies crumble, there will be a regime change with leadership that satisfies Russia's and Mr. Putin's mandate to stay away from NATO and stay away from the European Union. Nor NATO or the European Union will intervene, despite all appearances. But they will continue to position themselves to defend any attempt by Russia toward moving in on any established EU state from the former Warsaw Pact. So if Russia was to overstep a boundary and try to get into one of those other countries, it would be bad news for Russia. She will then be faced with the EU and NATO coming probably all the way into Russia itself. Other states that buffers Russia from the EU, example Belarus and Georgia, will also continue to be controlled by Mother Russia's mandate to not join NATO. There was also talk of China invading and occupying Taiwan sometime in the near future. It remains quite likely that this will take place, and very soon. And again, no other country will make any significant attempt to physically stop China, and that's because of the position, the geographical position of China on Taiwan. It's just in China's front door. So, you know, it's inevitable if China really wants to do that, that will happen. These such invasions will never cease, as long as military-powered countries receive threats to their bordering countries from other military powers, such as, will not be allowed without a war. So in the case, like I told you last show, any country wanting to move in on the Bahamas to set up shop, put up a military base, a missile base, whatever, the U.S. will not allow that to happen. And you'll see how quickly the U.S. takes over the Bahamas, because we're on their doorstep. They're not going to let any other country come and set up nuclear weapons right on their doorstep. That wouldn't happen. Don't mind the talks of sanctions against Russia. These sanctions are failing miserably. We have a couple feeds that tells you Russia continues to sell her oil and gas by staggering amounts. In fact, they're selling more oil and gas now than they did before the invasion of Ukraine. So, no, the sanctions ain't working, and guess what? Those European countries that make up the EU, they are taking more oil and gas from Russia than any other country. Yes, they may have stopped the Russian ships from bringing it to them, but they're sending their own ships now to bring it because they cannot do without it. And if Russia was to close shop and say, I'm not giving you all no more of my oil and gas, then they would be in a lot of trouble. So please, don't buy into the talks that the sanctions is working against Russia, because it's not. Okay, last year I advised you that the largest container port in the world, Shanghai, was receiving grave negative impact due to COVID-19 lockdown. Yes, China has ordered a citywide lockdown on 26 million residents of Shanghai. This 10-day lockdown is wreaking havoc on the world container trade operations. So until that is already finished, and hopefully if the COVID count in Shanghai reduces significantly, that port will open back up, that whole town will open back up, 26 million residents working in ports. And we will see at that time that trade continue to move and the world is not locked out of Shanghai, which is the largest container port in the world. We're talking maritime, people. Welcome to Maritime Matters. At this point, we move to our first break. And when we return, we will engage tonight's Maritime Matters special guest, my man. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Welcome back to Maritime Matters. We're talking maritime, and tonight we're talking HMPS Flamingo, a position voyage from England to Nassau, and the eventual drastic aftermath. Okay, my apologies, ladies and gentlemen. I have tonight my very special guest. Tonight we bring to you an officer and certainly a gentleman. I bring to you a man that has made his contributions to the military power of this country, a man who has certainly left a very significant impact on me, myself, veteran naval officer. This cat, ladies and gentlemen, by due diligence, hard work and dedication, worked his way through the ranks with poise and respect. An amazing individual that played a pivotal role in the setting up of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force. Here sits a brother that has, in true fashion, climbed to the mountain top, stamped the Buddha Dane, and gobbled down the betel nut. So brace yourself for a highly informative and sobering military maritime discussion. I present to you tonight an officer of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force that made a difference, a true achiever. Former 3-ring commander wearing scrambled egg on his cap before all Dartmouth training officers, Mr. Donald WEIR. Don, we are most privileged to have you on the show, my brother. Sorry for all that bubbling, but you got me nervous, man. You're the man I always look up to.
Well, Captain Glenn is glad to be. I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad the welcome that you gave me. In fact, some of those things you said, I didn't even know I was that.
Oh yeah, definitely. You got it wrong, my brother.
And good evening, Bahamas.
Yeah, you put in your time in this maritime world, more time and more effort and more impact than most men could even dream of doing in their lifetime.
Thank you.
So now let's get in some insight into who is Donald WEIR. Where were you born, Don?
I actually was born right here in Nassau, over the hill.
Okay.
Woods Lane. I actually was born in a house, not a hospital.
Oh, you didn't go in the hospital?
No,
Wow,
so-
you're really special.
Yeah, totally special.
You must live in the family islands.
Lived there for many years.
Okay, you grew up in Woods Lane as
Grew up
well?
in Woods Lane
Okay.
till I was about 14, 15.
Who were some of your friends and family in the area? I mean, just
The
touch on-
Wallaces and
Okay,
some of the Wrights and the Simmons on Wolf Road and
okay.
quite a few friends.
Was it Woods Alley or Woods Lane?
Somehow there's a confusion. It's Woods Lane was the proper name when I was
Okay.
born.
All right.
They've since changed it to Woods Alley. But Woods Alley actually was off Market Street.
Okay,
But somehow now Woods Lane has become Woods Alley.
okay. So you
But
grew up with
originally
your
it's
parents?
Woods Lane. My grandparents.
You grew up with your grandparents?
Yes.
Who were your grandparents?
Middle of Duncombe
Okay.
and Haywood Duncombe.
Okay. Were they from South Andres?
Haywood is from Long Bay Keys and our middle is from Mangrove Key.
Beautiful. Oh, you're South Andres man.
Yeah. Well, Mangrove Key
No
man.
wonder I respect you so much. No, we got a homework next South Andres. My daughter is the first South Andres man in the office of corps.
Yeah. Well, Mangrove Key.
Yeah, that's good to know, man. That's so good. How did you find out about the RBDF?
Actually, reading the newspaper.
Reading the newspaper?
Yeah, reading the newspaper, saw an ad. At the time I was enrolled at the College of Bahamas doing an accounts and business administration degree.
Okay. So when did you graduate before you went to COB?
76, I graduated from Queen's
Graduated in
College.
70s. From Queen's College?
Well,
Oh, you weren't paying any money.
no. Actually, I was lucky in that I passed the common entrance exam and the government actually paid for me to go to QC.
So you were smart.
Well, so they
Because I failed. Me and plenty people failed the government. Very few. So instead of going to DGHS, you went to QC.
Well, I had an option of QC,
Uh-huh.
SAC.
Wow.
I like QC.
Yeah.
Primarily because I had an uncle who was already enrolled in QC.
Oh, your whole family smart.
Yeah. So I figured that would have been the best choice.
Okay. So why did you end up choosing to join the Royal Bahamas Defense Force out of CO? How long were you in COB? Over a year?
No, I had done about 6 months.
Okay. Why did you decide to get into the Defense Force as
Well-
opposed to continue with COB?
Because I always wanted to do business,
Right.
but I didn't know I was prepared for the 4 or 5 year stint of going to college and going to Rimwood. So I wanted to kind of get into something that I could be making money almost
Beautiful.
as quickly as I could. And the opportunity at Dartmouth was a year, and I figured I couldn't beat that.
And then you qualified. But the thing about it is, when I joined the Defense Force, what attracted me, well, the first thing that really got me, and a lot of other people, was the sinking of the Flamingo. But you were years before the Flamingo sank.
Yes,
You were
definitely.
many years before, and you're the first, well, there was 3 officers that were sent to Dartmouth 4 months apart.
Yeah,
Cam Karen, Pierce, Peter Drudge, and
and
yourself.
myself, that's correct.
So what inspired you to want, you just wanted to join because you wanted a different,
No, I also had this, you always have these dream careers.
right,
I used to be a straw vendor.
right?
So,
You used to be a straw man.
yeah, my grandmother and my mother were straw vendors.
So you was in business from there.
From I was about 8 years old.
Wow.
And so seeing the cruise ships,
Right, in and out.
in and out, working right around the port, I also had this dream of driving one of the cruise ships.
Wow.
And so that kind of also propelled me to join.
One time I was on a base and somebody was talking to, and I was just passing. And I stopped, and there was a problem with an officer not wanting, he was afraid to do something. And I heard you make the statement. Now, I don't know what's wrong with these young officers. I would do anything the man, you tell me to do it, I'll do it. If the man tell me to go now and bring in a cruise ship, I gotta try to bring a cruise ship. I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
And so that came from somewhere more than just
Yes,
on the
yes,
base.
I've always
Wow.
kind of looked at them coming in and out,
Mhm.
and I'm like, boy, I know I could drive this
And
ship.
you always had that positive mentality,
Totally,
and
totally.
that spurred on the people like me. You wouldn't even know that.
Yeah.
That spurred on the people like me and got me to be brave and forthcoming and you never scared to do nothing.
You can't be.
I'm telling you, man. So what was your first encounter with maritime activities? Was it Dartmouth or you?
Actually, being a straw vendor and being downtown, I had some friends whose father, Joe Delaney,
Okay.
he had a few glass bottom boats.
Okay.
And whenever I could have gotten away from the
Straw
straw market, I would go in the glass bottom boats with him. And so I had a little idea about going on boats and feeding the boats and driving the boats.
So when you got to Dartmouth, you was in when we had to go down by the river, Sand Key.
Right.
That was in your first introduction to going on small boat.
No, and I wasn't afraid of it because I understood a little bit about how to move it and how to.
So you got your tickets on time.
Well, definitely.
Man, it took me a long time. It took me a long time. See, I never been on no boat before.
I even did the sailboat inversion and all.
Oh, yeah?
In as cool as that was.
Oh man, I hated the river. Yeah, it's good to know you as a first timer going to Dartmouth. Before you had nobody to look up to.
Well, I don't know if you remember, we had Dartmouth had these two-masted catch sailboats.
Yeah, I remember those two.
Well, I actually used to
What
captain
they call them,
them.
the Hurleys?
Yeah, not the Hurleys. These are the big
Big,
ones.
the
These
big
are
ones.
45
Sorry,
pounds.
the big ones. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to actually sail them to Guernsey and Jersey.
Okay.
I used to actually captain them.
So you was a good sailor.
Yeah.
Well, but you learned to sail.
Yeah.
At Dartmouth.
Yeah.
You learned to feel the wind.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting, Don. And now I see why you can handle ships so well.
Yeah.
There were very few people that I thought could handle ships better than me in the defense force.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I call him your name, but I must say, I saw you. Let me tell you, like when I knew you could really handle the boat. We were, I think it was about 260-footers. We were in Morgan's Bluff, and you came in that night. You was in charge of the mallet.
Right.
You came in, and we said, boy, we don't know if there's no space for the mallet to fit in here. You said, man, look here, I only need 100 foot. And we moved our vessel, I think it was Tellis in charge of the nav at the time, and we went alongside the Exuma.
Right.
And I sure it was probably 102 foot in that space.
Yeah.
And I said, boy, we can run this boat aground tonight. And I saw you came and you approached that dock. And when I said, I had to come and look for you. I say, come on, Livia, how you did that?
Yeah.
And you know what you told me? You don't remember this, but I could never forget. You say, Ben, let me tell you something. When you want to dock a boat, all you got to do is get that spring line on.
That's it.
Once you get that spring line on,
That's the key.
you turn hard to the inboard, and you use your inboard engine, and the rest of that ship will bring its way in. And I never forgot that. Of course, I use it many times. So it's a lot of things you would have said to people like me, like resonated, and we learned a lot from it. So, on national radio, I got to thank you.
I appreciate it.
For what you were and what you did back in those days. So what was your Dartmouth experience? I mean, you went to Dartmouth, you didn't do any training. Did they have a base?
No, we didn't have a base.
No defense force base?
No. There was no defense. Defense was only 3 people, I think. 4 people at the time. So I think my pay number was something like 1004.
So when you got to England, you really didn't see anybody any defense force? You saw Swinley?
No. When I went, I saw Swinley at the interview.
Right.
That's after the interview, that was it. I saw some people at the ministry and that kind of stuff.
Right. And then they got your ticket.
Got my ticket and that kind of thing. But, I was only 17.
And it was only, you were 17 when you went to Dartmouth?
Yeah.
Wow. So you were 17, going to Dartmouth. When you reached London, what happened?
Well, that was an experience. Because, I traveled the 5,000 miles by myself.
Exactly.
Not knowing what's going to be there.
What to expect, yeah.
So Alvin Brennan was the High Commissioner to London.
So Alvin Brennan.
Yeah, and
Okay.
so fortunately enough for me, he had his chauffeur actually pick me up on the tarmac at the top of the plane, because back then you had stairs.
So you had diplomatic treatment?
Oh yeah.
You didn't even go in the launch?
No.
You walked from the plane down the steps into the limo?
Into the limo. Into Sir Alvin Brennan's car.
Oh man. You probably the only person in the force ever had that kind of
Probably,
treatment.
and it never happened again. So.
Indeed. Wow. So after that, they took you to the hotel?
Well, he actually said since he had some time to kill, he had a chauffeur give me a tour of London. And then he fixed me up in a hotel and whatever.
A tour of London?
Yeah.
In the limousine?
In the limo.
Okay. Because that was your first time in Europe.
That was an experience because it was a white chauffeur.
Okay. So, oh wow. They thought he was a prince or something?
Oh, definitely.
He was royalty from
That
somewhere.
was something for a day.
Okay, and then you went into the hotel and then you went to Dartmouth by train?
Went to Dartmouth by train.
Okay, how was the train ride for you?
The train ride was fine.
Did you ride a train prior to that, or was it your first time on a train?
No, I think I may have been on a train in the U.S.
Oh, you been to New York, because ain't on the Florida.
Yeah, I've been to train in the U.S.
Man, you haven't done that.
No, I found me. But the train ride wasn't too bad. Getting to Torquay and taking the ferry from Torquay over to Dartmouth. The experience was when we got off the ferry.
Yeah.
Because at that point,
So you
all
crossed
that fun I was having and whatever changed.
How it changed?
Because back then you had to put your suitcase on your back and you have to walk to the college.
Oh, so you walked from where the ferry landed
To the college.
in Dartmouth
Yeah.
all the way to the college?
Yeah.
Wow. And then what, they told you where to go? Or?
First they had a meeting, everybody was into the hall, and they kind of, one thing they said that actually stood out to me at the time, they said, if you can't take a joke, you shouldn't be here.
Oh, well, that was interesting.
And that was, and then of course the experience started.
Wow. What was the experience like?
It was really rough. I'd say the first week, because it's something completely new to me.
You never did navigation or nothing?
Nothing like that. Nothing like that. It was completely new.
Then you got the EMAs in the morning, the early morning activities.
Everything was out of whack.
Sure, was it cold?
It was very cold.
It was cold when you were there, so that was another experience.
Yeah, it was out of whack. In fact, I can remember in the morning the EMAs, sometimes you dive in the water to crack the ice.
What you mean dive in the water? Oh, you mean in the pool?
Yeah.
Oh, I hated that pool.
Yeah.
Everything on me used to shrink. Shrivel up.
Yeah, so
I couldn't take the pool.
Yeah, that was rough. That
Wow.
was rough.
And then when you got to go outside, even if it's snowing, you
But I
got
figured
to
it was
short pants.
strategy. I figured it was strategy kind of quick.
What was the
And that's what
strategy?
made me successful at Dartmouth. I figured out I needed to find out where all the classes were, where they were physically located.
Right,
And
because
so-
they had the 5-minute rule.
Yes. And
They
so
say
what
you're
I would-
already late because it's supposed to be the next class 5 minutes before.
Right. So what I would do on the Sunday,
Right.
I went and I mapped out the whole college.
Oh, you actually walk around and check
Yeah, I
out.
knew when I need to get to this class, I know how long it's going to take me to get from this one to that one, and so I actually did that. Once I did that, it was clean sailing, because the main thing was being held up at breakfast or lunch or dinner and that kind of stuff. So what I did, I just never ate lunch.
Okay. I found myself dropping asleep in a lot of classes.
Yeah, you have to,
Because you got to get up for your EMAs.
Yeah.
Then you got to go on the parade and drill about 2 or 3 rounds a day.
Yeah.
Then you go in from class to class trying to absorb
Yeah.
something you never know about before.
You got to catch it up.
Then after that you got to go down on the river to learn how to drive boat.
Yeah.
Then you got to do what they call some extra curricular something. I always used to play basketball.
But when I said
That was easy for me.
They said if you couldn't take a joke.
Well,
So
that-
that only could be a joke.
They ain't even tell us that because I wouldn't even did that for no joke. another thing is when you get rounds in the evening, you kids see I grew up in a house. My mommy did everything for us, right?
Yeah.
I know how to cook. I know how to iron. Oh yeah, I know how to iron. I have to iron for me and my little brother. But ironing wasn't no problem. But when you got to fold them clothes in a certain way to make sure that drawer there's no space, you know, the military. I just keep getting hit for that.
No, but there's a trick to that. I went and I bought extra shoes, extra
Okay.
tennis shoes.
Right.
And then, so some of the stuff that I would use, I would hide in the basement. So I would leave my drawer already full and neat and what have you, so it was always ready for rounds.
So what are you just hanging out with? Because nobody told you.
Nobody,
that.
I just figured this stuff out. I just figured it out.
You just learn how to cheat.
I figured.
But I guess I done that.
No, but actually I thought it was survival.
No, it is survival, but I didn't learn how to do it on my own. And when we got there, it was with Clyde, sorry, it was in St. Vincent with me, right?
Right.
But they were on DDS, they were on the training ship, so I didn't see
No,
them
no,
until
no,
2 months
can't show you
later.
anything, yeah.
Right? So I had to go, and you remember what they call a PPTs, a professional
Yeah,
progress test?
yeah,
6 weeks.
Yeah.
When I did my 6-week PPTs, out of the 11 exams, I failed 9. I was on captain's warning, professional warning. I was on every warning in college.
I believe you were just rebelling.
No, I couldn't slip no boots. I know how to slip no shoes. I can learn all that. So when I focus in on those type of things, and then you talk about leadership. I was like, I figured these, I don't even know the books important no more.
No.
And then I drop asleep in every class.
Trust me, it's rough.
So I don't know how you, so how your PPTs?
I can say, I did very well. But I think, part of the
It was a
issue.
blessed well in that.
No, I think also I had good, like my grandmother and my grandfather, the way they brought me up,
Right.
there was very little that I didn't know or couldn't adapt to.
Okay. So you learn how to dock.
Oh, yeah.
And then you learn how to cheat.
Oh, yeah.
So God survival for you.
That's survival.
Learn how to survive.
Yeah.
That was so good. I mean, I go out there because I can tell you, when 5 of us was there together,
Yeah.
all of us was catching the same kind of help. And there ain't nobody know how to cheat. Nobody. And that's when we wish we had trained prior to coming there.
Like how the guys do now.
We didn't, yeah, like how but they did right after us, because Farley and Chris Wellham, they were the first set.
Okay.
And they would have said that took over, they went to Dartmouth after we got here.
Oh, okay.
So, they were fortunate. Yeah. So, who would you have regarded as your mentor in the defense force?
Other than Amos Rowe, because he was kind of my first experience of a captain.
Right. So he was really a
He
mentor.
was really, and he was a great mentor.
I think he's everybody.
Yeah.
He was almost everybody's mentor. He was my mentor too.
But his nickname was the Fuhrer.
Oh yeah, we call him the Fuhrer.
He ruled with a hard iron.
That's right. That's
But
right.
the English guy on the base, Captain Matthews, was also,
Yeah.
he actually took me in.
I hear a lot about Captain Matthews.
Yeah.
When I came back from Dartmouth, Captain Matthews was the CCH, right? And he was there for another 2 or 3 years. But I don't know if he was waning away.
He probably was.
Or you know what happened? Or what I assume happened? When Commander King, Commander Rain, Commander Mahone came, King took over the whole case.
He was very good.
And you was understudying King, I remember.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, and you was the savior, because when I go in front of King, when I see you, I relax.
Yeah.
If I don't see you, I really tremble.
Well, I was
Yeah, bad King when he used to play.
No, he was serious.
Man.
See, and then the reason why it was such a change, because Kerry was before King, and Kerry was kind of a slacker.
I never knew Kerry.
Yeah, Kerry was, Kerry was kind of a slacker.
Oh, okay.
And so when King came, King was just a no-nonsense, thing. But Captain Matthew was really good. There were days when he would send for me, and in his conversation with me, he would always use words that he knew I didn't know the meaning of.
Wow.
So I got instructions, not clear about it, and I'd have to go away and try and figure out what that word was that he used. And so he actually was teaching me.
Oh, he was putting you through the ropes?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So you worked directly or close to him when you first came back?
No, but he would always send for me.
But when you came back, they still didn't have a base, or they had a base?
We had a base.
Okay, so...
But it wasn't formed the way it is now.
Okay.
Yeah, but we had a base.
You had something to start off with.
Well, Southgate, and stuff like that. So the base was there, rooms were there, officers were there.
Okay.
We didn't have proper, we had some jetties. They weren't all functioning.
They had boats, because they had the 4...
Yeah, old boats. And then they had the 3...
164.
And then the 3 new
3 new ones
came.
that came in.
Yeah.
So who would have been the captain of those? Because, I mean, you would have been...
Well,
you take you and...
I think I stayed on Flamingo for maybe... It's less than a year. Anyhow.
Oh, so when you first got back, you stayed on the
Flamingo was the navigator.
Okay.
Right?
Wow.
And then, I think less than a year, I got my own command, which was then HMS Abaco.
Okay. So you continued to patrol with Amos?
Yeah, for a few months.
Commander Rowe?
Yeah.
Oh, someone else was on board?
Well, see, when we first brought the ships back, we never used to come on the bank. And so we actually used to navigate the ship. So we used
What you mean don't come on the bank?
We used to dock and call out Prince George Wharf.
Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
Oh, so y'all never come to the base?
No.
Not in the well, what about the 60-footers? Not even...
The 60-footers, yes.
Oh, but not the Mali.
Then eventually we started, because I had an accident at Samanaki.
Right.
And I needed to get back to give some evidence to the Attorney General's office.
Okay.
And so it was either I come back in a timely manner, which means I had to come through Ship Channel Key.
Right.
And we never came through Ship Channel Key.
No?
So I used to have to, I had to actually with my foot bandaged up and what have you, I had to navigate the ship through Ship Channel
Oh, you
Key.
had an injury?
But I got bitten by a barracuda.
Oh, we was teasing about with it.
No.
I mean, people get bite by barracuda.
No, we were searching Samanaki.
Right.
And Samanaki is about 9 miles long.
Oh, okay. So when you
And
finished...
a lot of my search party got tired.
Right.
And they actually were at the point where they were like, they couldn't go
They
any
didn't
further.
go no further,
But
yeah.
I knew I had to finish the key.
Right.
And my boots was hot, so I went down to just wash
Oh, you went into the
wash
water?
my foot. I didn't go all the way, only about a foot.
Wow.
And I just was wiggling my foot in the barracuda grab it and
Gee,
tried to get
that's
it.
sad. Yeah, and then you had to be rushed back to Nassau.
Yeah,
Well,
but
the
it-
ship, the Marlin...
Yeah, I had to get back because I had to give evidence. But,
Oh.
So I had to go to the Attorney General's office before I went to the hospital.
Wow, so you went in pain, more or less.
Well done, please.
Okay, so what was like your most memorable moment on RBDF and your tenure there with the RBDF? You have anything that really stands out as your most memorable time?
I think probably navigating Flamingo from England to Nassau. I think because that was something completely different.
Yeah.
I mean, we
Never
didn't-
did that again. So.
Yeah, we didn't have GPS
Right.
or nothing like that.
Oh, yeah.
We had sat nav, so you'd have a satellite that come through once a day if you're lucky.
Sat nav, yeah.
So we had to use celestial navigation the whole time over.
Okay.
And you can imagine the trek across the ocean.
Mhm.
There's no land, there's no nothing. So that was very interesting.
Wow.
So that's probably more memorable than
Most other things. you mean.
most. Yeah.
Okay. So when you actually joined the Defense Force and got back, what was like your long-term expectation of the job?
Boy, I had so many of them.
Yeah?
Yeah,
You learned a lot.
I really thought that.
Because he was among the three first.
Yeah, and we were brought into the idea of the defense force.
Okay.
So we all had this this idea of this military organization and wanting to be a part of this military organization and wanting to see it grow and so I think everyone who joined the force, I'd say maybe 4 entries, probably saw this of being the elite force.
Okay.
And so we were all kind of so proud of the uniform and wanting to get it right. And then it was so interesting that we had so many different departments. So there was nothing that the defense force couldn't do.
I know when I came from Dartmouth, I was extremely disappointed in the level of discipline. I went on the Nabwa because coming out of Dartmouth, my thing was everybody listens and everybody does what they have to do and everybody pay attention to
I think that what you may have found or felt, I think probably came from the fact that we had brought some of the police Marines over to the defense force. And so there was this kind of
level of influence they had on the other
influence and then trying to marry the two
or the military bit with the police
and right. And then you got to remember now the 2 senior officers were police officers.
Well, that's true too, yeah.
And so they were paramilitary.
Plus the senior ratings were police officers.
Right. So they were paramilitary.
Okay.
Not full military. Whereas our training would have been for full military.
But it seemed like button boys over the years.
Of course. I mean, once you...
So we never really been the little Navy that we were supposed to be.
Never corrected it.
Wow, that is amazing. So when did you first learn about the Marlin and the Flamingo? The two
ships?
Yeah, the ships.
While I was finishing Dartmouth.
So before you went to Dartmouth, you didn't know anything?
No.
Okay, so
I mean, I was told that these boats were being built.
Okay.
But not to, you know, in Dartmouth I have time to follow what's...
Right. No. So they would... Who would tell you though?
Well, I would get information every now and again from the High Commission and also from the Defense Force. It wasn't often.
So who on the Defense Force you would have been communicating with?
I think there was a civilian, I can't remember the lady's name now.
Oh.
Yeah.
Not Miss Seymour.
Yeah, not Miss Seymour.
Oh.
Seymour came afterwards.
All right.
They would have sent you
She would send you notes.
Yeah, like that.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, it would be High Commission.
So when you found out about them, what?
Well, it was right
Get on the Marlin, get on the Flamingo, they must have told you need to join the Flamingo while you was there.
Yeah.
Did you come back home and then go back?
No, I never came back home.
So you stayed
I went to HMS Nelson.
HMS Nelson?
Yeah.
And how was that?
That was very good.
Yeah.
I was living the life there. Even when I was finished.
You finished?
So I was a full-fledged naval officer.
So you were like 18 now?
Yeah, 18.
And you went to HMS Nelson.
Right. So which meant I had all the privileges of an officer.
Right.
So I had my own steward who prepared my uniform and my shoes and my...
You had service?
Oh yeah.
So you just lived your life in Raleigh for a while?
Until the boats.
Okay. So they would have had some people come up from Nassau and meet you there?
Yes.
Or you met them, or y'all met
No,
them?
they met me because I was already there.
Right.
So...
But you was in where the boats were?
I wasn't far from the boats. So
when that's to the south somewhere?
Yeah.
It's not in London?
No.
Oh,
And so when they would have come, I joined them, but I probably was there maybe a day or two ahead of them.
Right.
Because I would have made a visit or two before they would have come.
Okay.
And then when they come, then of course when I had to leave Nelson and join the ship, was then of course the awakening.
What do you mean awakening? What was that like?
Well, I no longer had a steward.
So you guys did workups before leaving England, or
oh yeah,
did
we
you guys go on the
did.
ship?
No, we did a lot of workup.
What was the workups like?
Well, very good.
I asked because when we went for the 108s, that's the first time I knew what workup was.
Yeah, we did.
I didn't even know what we was expecting until I saw how there was candies, what I call small patrol boats, as though they naval ships.
And that's how we...
They had us doing all these things.
Yes,
things like I never even out in fire and
yeah, no, every part of the ship I'd worked
Wow.
and I done for weeks of it.
Okay.
And so, I mean, there was no way that ship wasn't run the way it's supposed to run.
So the crew was more sharpened than it was with
Totally.
water?
Totally.
Wow.
Totally.
Okay.
There was nothing we couldn't do.
Right. You were ready prepared.
Yeah.
So when you left England, or when you left Wasper, headed for Nassau, you had to carry extra fuel? Or?
Yeah, we had saddle tanks.
Okay.
Each ship had 2 saddle tanks on the stern.
Okay.
These big rubber.
Right.
I think each tank held, 750 gallons.
Okay.
So like 1,500 gallons of fuel we had on the stern.
In addition to the regular tanks.
The regular tanks, right.
And what was the route you guys took?
Well, we came down and we faced some bad weather off France.
Where?
And I think we lost, my memory isn't too good, and I think we lost maybe 1 or 2 of those tanks.
The saddle tanks?
Yeah.
Was that rough?
Yeah, it was that rough.
So they didn't have them last time?
Yeah, they were
Just
very
that
well
rough?
last, yeah.
Wow.
So I think by the time we got to, I think our first stop, official stop was the Canary Islands.
You stopped in the Canary Islands?
Yeah, that was we actually was scheduled to stop there, but when the saddle tanks were going, we had to go and close the land.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't actually stop, but we had to go and close the land to try and secure what was left.
What was left?
Right.
Yeah. So you how the coast of
Right, and then come around Gibraltar, and then we
Come
went
around
down,
Gibraltar and then
we
went
went
to
down to
Canaries.
Canary, yeah.
And from there, when you left the Canaries, where did
We went to the Cape Verde Islands.
Okay, Cape Verde.
So we went from Canary Islands to Cape Verde Islands.
And you fueled up in both those
Yeah, we
places?
had fuel up, got food,
Mhm.
and other rations and that kind of
Wow.
stuff.
And from there, where you went?
But from Cape Verde Islands, we then went to Barbados.
Oh, Barbados was the
Yeah.
first stop.
Right.
And you fueled up again.
Oh, yeah.
So how was
Well,
that?
Barbados was obviously was like homecoming for us because now we're
In the Caribbean now?
In the Caribbean.
You nice
So everybody
weather.
now relaxed
Wow.
and what have you, and of course we had some good on the shores.
Well, indeed. see some Caribbean people again.
And that, we would have telephone put on board each of the stop, but in Barbados, obviously the telephone was more important because everybody was close to home,
Right.
so everybody could have called home
Mhm.
and that kind of stuff.
Okay. So, and from Barbados, you would have stopped again, I assume.
No.
You had enough fuel to go from Barbados
Yeah,
all the way to
yeah.
that's a long run.
Yeah, we came straight up, and straight up to Nassau.
Straight up Nassau.
Yeah.
That's excellent, man. So when did you practice your celestial navigation? That was, of course, the ocean voyage
Yeah, well,
from
I
Cape
mean,
Verde to Barbados.
William and I would have done it in Dartmouth.
Oh yeah, I know.
I know
yeah.
Fairless and what have you. And so as soon as we got Maritime Flamingo sorted out, we would have been practicing.
Right.
Okay, so by the time as we get down to cross the ocean,
Right.
we was ready for that.
Now I got to open the lines, Storm, because this is a call-in show. I got 1,000 more questions for you, but I don't want to hog them.
No, not a problem.
You can still get them coming, but let's see if anybody want to call in. Mr. Producer, we got anybody on the line? Very good. I see 2 lines blinking. Okay, they're blinking for false. Nobody on the line. Very good. Let's keep going, Don.
No.
I hope they don't call, and that means I got all my questions in. Okay, so I see line 1 blinking. There you go. Good. Now, my next question would be line 1? Okay. Let's see who's on line 1, Don. I know you got some friends who want to call, or some of my friends who want to call, because you're a very popular fellow, I must say. You're popular, way popular than I was. Maritime Matters, good evening. You're live on Maritime Matters.
Good evening, Captain Bain.
Captain Herbert Brain, how are you, sir?
Good evening and good evening to your esteemed guest, the great Bernard.
Good evening.
How you doing, brother?
Good.
Yeah, I just have to call because you guys take me back down memory lane. and I say shame on you, Glenn. Oh, you didn't know that you put a set of clothes and shoes and the like in your closet and you don't use them.
You could only talk because you didn't come straight from the street and go into Dartmouth. You had a whole 3-4 months training and then you go into Dartmouth. So you can't say nothing to me, my brother.
I was shocked, but then I just caught. I think I just really enjoyed hearing you guys go back down memory lane, and I'm happy to have been a part of that team that you have influenced over the years in terms of my tenure with the RBDF, and so I too want to join with Captain Bain and thank you for your contribution and for your service to this country.
Well, I do appreciate it, man. Thank you very much.
I just wanna say that and I really mean this. I think the job that all of you guys and the BDF do, even unto the day, I think that there's no greater way to serve this country, and I think that if you was to put a if you was to even try to think about paying a Defense Force officer for the work that they do day in and day out, and holidays and every day. The country will go broke. So then I salute not only yourself and Glenn and everybody who have served, but all those serving members of the force under the day. And I just hope that all my PDF brothers who are out there will call in on, because I think this is a moment in history that we all should be a part of.
Yes, Brother Herbert, very good. Thank you very much for that
Well, thank
contribution.
you.
We'll take that to heart, my brother. And I know you can call him before the night is out, so let me just lay a hang him now so we can keep going. Right, so, yeah, Herb is my main call. He's making sure he keeps you on even keel, man. That's my dog. Yeah, oh yeah. So what condition was the marlin and flamingo in when you actually reached Nassau? You got beat up pretty
Yeah,
bad.
got beat up, but it was fairly good because remember everybody is well trained.
And plus those
So-
wasp ships.
They're very good.
Better than any other ship.
Any other ship they've ever
Well,
built.
I don't know, but these new ones would.
I don't care what they do. I don't they can't compete.
Yeah,
Vasco is like
Yeah.
top line.
Those, when I served as captain of the Marlin for about a year and a half. I think I was the last one before they took out of service.
Yeah, I think they're so good at building military ships.
Mm-hmm.
And the military ships that they build, I think once you take care of it, could last you almost for
A long time, because when I was on the Marlin, and I left the Marlin and I went to be captain of the Yellow Weather.
right.
And it was
Night
like night and
and
day.
day.
You know, run the water rough.
Yeah.
The Yellow Weather can't take that
Night
time.
and day.
It's,
Night and
it's
day.
like a yacht.
Yeah, yeah.
But the Marlin,
Oh, that was good.
oh man, she was built. She could have taken.
That was good.
So that's one good thing I could say. So they held up pretty well.
Oh, yeah.
You just had to do some cosmetic.
We did a lot of maintenance, and then everybody was well versed with their part of the ship.
Okay.
And so nothing could have happened in the engine room where the guys wouldn't find a way to make that work. You know, so everybody was well trained, well poised, and we were comfortable in what we were doing.
Right. So
And
you had it basically.
Oh yeah.
You took care of the ship.
Yeah, and the enthusiasm was completely
Plus the
different.
ships were brand new.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah. So what was the approximate manpower like on the defense force when you got back, or the whole complement of the force? Because we talking about 78 now.
78 we got back,
Okay.
and so it's been 78. So I can't be more than 150.
That's it.
Yeah.
150 people in
Can't
total.
be more than that.
Wow. And today they got what? Almost 2,000.
Yeah, can't be more than 150.
That's excellent, man.
Yeah.
So like 150 and just a handful of officers.
Right, and then you remember that we had a few of the.
And Roger Dam was still away.
They're still away. Then they came in.
So it's only 3 officers when the Marlin Flamingo reached
Right,
out.
right.
And plus we had those 360
Well, we had
plus another 4.
Right, we still had the
Acklands.
chief
some
inspectors
staff.
of the police.
Oh, they were actually on the boats?
Yeah,
So they were navigating?
they were capturing.
Oh, they were captains?
Yeah, some of like the Andrews, the Acklands, and
So what were
so.
some of their names? Do you recall? I mean,
Sanders, Chief Inspector Sanders.
Chief Inspector
Then
Sanders.
LaFleur was also Chief Inspector at the time.
LaFleur was on a 60 foot as well.
Yeah, and then Monroe.
Scatty.
Yeah,
Right.
Scatty was
Uh-huh.
Chief Inspector.
Okay.
Then you had other, I think, ASPs like Andrews and some other fellas who were there. But some of those guys opted to go back to the police force.
Right, they didn't come over.
No.
So
They
only
were
was
there.
2. Only
Right.
LaFleur and Scotty came over there.
Right.
They were only 2, I knew.
Right.
Wow.
But other than Amos and Leon.
Uh-huh. So fast forward, Don. When did you learn about the attack of the Flamingo? You was already in the defense force.
Yeah, I was actually captain of Abaco.
Okay, so you was the
and
captain.
and I actually was at sea.
Okay.
Came back from sea,
Mm-hmm.
and I think on my day or 2 days off was when the
When
incident
the
happened.
message came.
Yeah.
Okay.
And how I found out about it was, I think I'd stopped to hear some of my family in hospital day.
Right.
And when I was coming through, my aunt and those, they were all like, they rushed out there hugging me and saying, what's going on?
Yeah.
And then they told me about the incident when I called the base and found out that this had happened.
Wow.
Because it had just happened.
Wow. So you was off
Right.
because you just came from sea.
Right.
And then somebody had to tell you.
Right. It happened.
Wow, what happened?
Yeah.
So man, let me tell you, this whole country was shaking up.
Yeah, yeah.
This
yeah.
whole country was shaking up.
Well, once that happened, everybody reported to the base, and we then was doing everything which I guess needed to do.
That must have been very sobering. So about how old you was in 1980 when that happened? Because you was 20.
Yeah.
And you was in charge of a 60-foot patrol craft out to sea.
I've been in charge for about almost a year and a half.
From you was like 19.
Yeah.
How does a 19-year-old be in charge of a 60-foot craft loaded with weapons,
Yeah.
loaded with, but you got about 14, 15 crew,
Yeah, and much older people as well.
and you're about to face anything at sea, because you got to challenge anything at sea.
Well, that's what Babcock prepared you for.
Boy, that's just so amazing.
Yeah.
And, you know, while we're on that point, I think even in the Royal Navy, and probably any Navy, it's always intended for the core officers to be those that start off from very young.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Because you can train them better.
You can train them.
You can mold them
plus
into
their
what-
managers longer.
Totally.
Because if you're a manager at age 20,
Yeah.
by the time you get 30,
The
35,
experience that you have is,
you really like, you coming in at that age.
Right, right.
Boy, it's so amazing. So, how well did you know those 4 men that were killed during?
I knew them, but not necessarily that well.
Okay.
But I would have seen them around, and I would have spoken to them at different times.
You should know everybody in the
But
force
yeah,
then.
because it's a small organization.
Right.
But remember now, back then, my patrol would be 3 weeks out of each month. Sometimes longer. You know, so I mean,
So
I
you
had 2
spent
days
a lot
off
of
here,
time
spent a lot
at
of
sea.
time at sea. Spent
He's a
lot of
salty
time at
seaman.
sea. Totally, spent a lot of time at sea.
We got another call coming in, Don. Let me just see who's this on the line. Good evening to you, Maritime Matters.
Good evening, my namesake. How are you?
Hey, good evening. I'm my schoolmate and namesake. I'm doing very well, Glenn. How are you, sir?
Please tell Mr. Ware that as much as as the government gave him that contract, Aram is still #1 school, eh?
Well, I think he knows Aaron Bailey was always.
I think that's one slip in his career. About it, you know. But Glenn, as always, your show is very, very informative, and I want to thank men like you who serve. A couple questions for the commander, because you talk about his youthism in terms of taking command of a boat at 19. I mean, that is amazing.
Yeah.
Can he speak to us in the context of, I know you guys have a cadet program. I know at one point the father of the nation spoke about youth cadet, etc., etc. Was that a part of the Defense Force thinking that maybe these areas can be good molding block for young people, especially with him being a commander, captain at age 19? And, you know, if there are challenges to pushing young men in a certain direction, because I think we almost lost a generation.
You're right.
By virtue of not putting them in a certain environment where they could have undergone the kind of discipline and training. Your reflection of what can happen at age 19. So I'm wondering, where did we go wrong? How did we miss out on seeing what you're doing as a part of the national psyche, the national makeup of a young nation?
Yeah, Reverend Ward, before Dawn answers, let me just ask you, when you speak of the cadet corps and all that, you mentioned, was it national service that you were talking about?
Yeah, I know at some point there was real conversation about national service. So
Right.
I'm not sure whether that came up in Defense Force days, etc.
No, that came up as a result of Singapore in putting in place a national service that helped them to get out of their slump, and I think the Prime Minister, Pinning at the time, was very close with the Prime Minister of Singapore.
Yeah.
And I think he wanted to adopt that, but there was a lot of talk about it, but Don would know a lot more about that than me, so if that's any more
I
questions
know,
before I
Glenn,
go?
particularly given the fact that obviously you have the symbol of what can be at a very, very youthful age, and whether that had been in the Defense Force or some other, it just seemed as if we missed an opportunity in the area of pulling in a whole generation of young men, you know, the likes of Mr. Ware, to sort of redirect where we would go as a nation.
But I think that you actually answered the questions yourself, actually. I think the father of the nation, I think that was part of his thinking. I think on the onset for the Defense Force, I think part of the thinking was the national service type situation to try and get young people, get Bahamians to realize the nationalism and to invest in them in that manner. But I think we weren't necessarily ready to hear that kind of stuff, because I think there was a lot of talk back in the early stages where people were talking about possibly having his own army and having people dedicated to him, and I think that kind of caused the national service item to be downplayed a bit. So I do believe we missed an opportunity, but I don't think it may have been explained the way I would probably ought to have been, and probably it could have been advanced different. And I think that if we had done that, then we definitely would have been able to save quite a few of the young men that we have today, young men and women.
Let me ask you one hypothetical before you go. Obviously, 19 that brought significant responsibility, right?
Yeah.
As a senior commander officer on the outside looking in, whether it be defense, police force, etc., etc., do you see these cadre of young men within the police defense force? What's your sense? What's your take in terms of them? Do you get a sense that they carry the same essence of burden, responsibility? Because, I mean, like I mentioned, it's almost unthinkable looking back to see someone at age 19 commanding a ship. I mean, you know, how do you compare the two if there's such a thing?
I think there's different times, you know. The different times, different opportunities, and then I think also is the way how the organizations are today versus how it was then. People were more or less geared to do that at that early age. So we were prepared for that.
You're maturing the force itself at a
you see,
maturity.
and we were well prepared. I'm not sure the training today. I'm not sure the preparation that goes into play today. But we at 19, what I would have done at 19, there may be people now at 30 who couldn't do it.
That's right.
Because of the training and because of how we saw the organization and the growth.
And the requirement
Yes,
at that time was that you had
So
to take
it's hard to say. But I'm not saying that we can't get there. I think we probably need to change a lot of stuff, do a lot of things, and I'm sure we could get there.
I was about to ask you the final question in that regard. When you leave, retire, or walk away from the police, from defense force, is your skill set, your leadership, your experience, is there a way in which that is still utilized, or do you think there should be some formal way in which they tap into the Donald West, to the Roger Wood, to the Glenn Beans, etc.?
I think that's the downfall of the organization. I think no Commodore, no commander, I think have embraced the fact that there's so much knowledge, there's so much experience out there, and they've just totally ignored it. So I can't tell you why or how, but there's so much knowledge out there that if they really ask, I'm sure people will give it.
I think the one, you're absolutely right, but I'll take that a step further. Even when I was sent to the Port Department and eventually worked with the Bahamas Maritime Authority, the experience that I would have garnered and other people like Harvey Sweeting and Patrick McNeil and everybody who was service port controller, they would never go back and put one of those persons on the Port Authority board.
No.
So that's all loss. And that defense force, police force, I'm sure it's the same way. It's just government in general.
Yeah, and it's sad.
They just don't utilize resources that are readily available, and you don't have to pay me.
But not that, but they've invested so much money
That's what I'm saying.
in that person.
It's just gone to waste.
Yeah.
But like Celine Pillin used to say back in the day, you train them. If they leave the defense force, wherever they go, they're taking it with them.
Of course.
So to your question, Brother Glenroe, that is exactly the situation. That it's in us. It can't go anywhere. Whatever we do, wherever we are, we're going to express it.
Yeah, totally.
Should that come, Glenn? Do you think that's one of the things that should come from the government, or they should be more arranged between organizations? For example, if you think about generals and other stuff in the U.S., right? They become available sources. I think in some cases, even after they're gone, they still have some official capacity in which they can serve their country, even if it's only in terms of advice.
Yeah, but only the government can do that.
Yeah, only to be,
I can't badge my way into wanting to be on the Port Authority board, wanting to be on the BMA board, wanting to assist in the defense force if something is going awry. I can't just do it. They have to appoint me.
It has to be mandated by government.
Yeah. Okay. Gents, I'll continue to listen in, but again, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you
very much. Very good questions, Brother Roll, and thank you for listening. Yeah, Don, boy, that was some good questions. Good friend in school. He was hanging together in school. I used to call him Phil Ford. You know, they have
Yeah,
maybe Santino. They said,
yeah.
well, he was Phil Ford. His name was Phil, and then he found out later on his name was Glenn, and now meeting up his same name. A very good friend of mine used to be a senior policeman.
Oh, okay.
So the impact that the Flamingo incident had on you, how did that bear on you?
It actually, to be honest with you, at the time, of course, there's a lot of activity, a lot of stuff going on, so probably didn't sink in, but on future patrols, particularly going south.
Oh yeah, especially when you see a Cuban.
Yeah.
'Cause I arrested a couple of
Yeah,
Cuban
yeah,
fishing
yeah.
boats. They belong to the Cuban government. Pharaoh number this, Pharaoh number
when
that.
you,
I arrested a couple of those, and
when you
I
go
one
south, you got to
time.
think about it.
But I remember one time I arrested one of those, right? And I think I was like in Orange Key area, because they come further up, they come up
Right,
pretty high
right.
sometimes. And I arrested one of them, and I was all the way to the 1 mile marker, getting ready to go into Coral Harbor base.
And they still came
And I got a message, release them. I said, what? What you mean release them? I said, but I'm here.
Right.
They said, no, Foreign Affairs told us to release them, we got to release them.
Yeah,
Well, of course, I go and grab me a couple of fish fries and then release them. I couldn't tell them, no. They got a lot of no money to eat them fish.
No evidence.
Yeah, but it was fun.
Yeah, no, so anytime you went south, Ragged Island, Winchester, anytime you went south, you...
Because we've had other vessels in those areas that saw a mix.
Yeah, of course.
They
Of
would-
course.
they would
They would
fly
come
by
out
here.
regularly. Yeah, they would come out
Right,
regularly.
right, yeah, so was it a good
So
idea?
that was impactful from that perspective. So we knew to be careful
Yeah.
in going in those areas.
Do you think in your experience in the defense force at the time and for years to follow, do you think that the 4 men that were killed, do you think they received appropriate recognition?
No.
Not at all.
No. No.
I tell you what I think. I think as far as recognition is concerned, yes, you remember we had 4 vessels with
Yeah.
but those vessels, when we got them, were already over 30 years old.
Yeah.
So that to me was kind of like insulting.
And
Why don't you name new boats after these fellas?
Yes.
And
those vessels, for the most part, weren't even working.
yeah, but they were
I think
already
they may have done 1 or 2 patrols and then that was it.
they were already decommissioned by the U.S.
Yeah,
Coast Guard.
Right. So that was in...
I would put their names on those.
No, that was
I
in
thought that was terrible.
Yeah, that was in Iraq.
But I would say, you know, they have a roundabout, Coral Harbor roundabout. One arm leading to the base,
You
next
put the
arm
4
leading
names
upward.
down?
Why don't you just
Yeah.
Carmichael Road would be one?
Yeah.
The airport road is one, Coral Harbor Way.
That's a good suggestion.
Yeah, I hope the authorities are listening because
That's a good
we
suggestion.
need those 4 streets to be named after
They
those 4
should be
men.
immortalized. They should be.
They
There's
should
no-
be.
yeah,
And on Coral Harbor roundabout, you put a big statue there
of the 4.
in memory
Yeah,
of the 4 fallen men during the Flamingo incident. That's what I would recommend, you know. So the families of well, obviously the families wasn't, because if you lose
There's no way.
a young fella at the age of what, teens in
Yeah,
some cases
yeah.
and probably around 20, 21 the most,
20s, yeah.
you lose, and you know, let me just say this too, Don. We're dealing with a patrol boat that is fit for going and dealing with pouches, drug smugglers, and illegal Asians, so illegal immigrants,
Yeah.
however they may come.
Yeah.
And you got your 20 millimeter on the bow,
Yeah.
you got your GPMGs mounted to the side,
Yeah.
you got your SLRs and your SMGs and your pistols and all the rest of that, and that's all you got,
That's it.
right?
That's it.
Now when you see a military aircraft from the Air Force, a MiG jet,
No comparison.
right? You have no surface to air missiles, the CCAT,
Nothing,
CDAT.
nothing.
You have no shaft here, shafts here. So when you know could be voided off,
Yeah.
you have absolutely no defense. You can imagine somebody going on a 20 millimeter, but they're going to shoot out of
Well,
base.
that's a scary
Basically,
situation.
So these guys were actually massacred
Yep.
because they didn't stand a chance.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
had no defense
No
system
defense
against
and
these
no
men.
offense.
They had nothing against the mix.
Right.
So, you know, and that $100,000 or whatever I understand, that's a joke.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Because when you prepare for war, then you could be on a frigate or destroyer when you stand a chance.
Yeah.
These guys ain't have no fighting chance.
None.
They
The
were
boats weren't
basically
designed.
murdered.
The boats
They were
weren't
basically
designed to fight mates.
Of course not. It's a patrol boat. It's not a military ship.
Yeah.
You know, but boy, and things like that really get to me because something needs to be done somewhere along the line. So what about the other 15 survivors? This was 19 in total. 4 died on impact, and then it was 15. You knew, how well did you know those?
Very well. I knew just every on the ship I knew.
Actually, I knew all of them, so you had to know them even better than me.
Very well.
Because when I joined the
In
Defense
fact,
Force, they were
some of them were still suffering quite a bit of after effects years to come.
And I realized that after I
Yes.
found out who they were.
Yeah.
Because when I found out who those 15 people were, and I just found out doing research now,
Yeah.
and I realized I worked with these, I said, wait, I always thought it was something about
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
They carried that with them,
Yeah.
and some of them are still carrying it.
I knew some who had it so bad that a plane can fly over. But
I'm
I wouldn't
serious?
call names.
No, we don't want to do that.
Yeah. But I mean, they were still feeling the
They were
impact.
still feeling the
They were
impact
still
of the attack.
they were still a little bit timid.
But was anything done for any of them?
No, I don't remember. Well, I could be wrong.
We
but I
put them
don't
back to
remember.
work.
That was it.
They work, you retire, some of
That was
them
it.
quit because they don't want to
Yeah.
go through that again.
That was
And they were never compensated for going through that
No.
trauma.
I don't even know if they got any counseling here.
Wow. Boy, that is indeed a mess. So what would you recommend the state do for those remaining survivors?
Boy, it's kind of late.
Because they're still here.
It's kind of late now, but I think, see,
I say $5 million each.
but to me,
I want the money. No, $5 million each.
money is important.
Money is most
Yeah,
important.
money is important.
You know.
But how do you put a figure on it is where the challenge
Well, I put in $5 million to start off with. Right? If you could buy ships for the Defense Force for $200 million and drive some.
Of course.
I think you could give those guys at least $5 million each.
But they
This
should
will never be
definitely.
those guys were mashed up.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
their life
yeah.
was
Yeah.
destroyed.
Oh, definitely.
And then you still put them to work?
Yeah.
No, man, they gotta be
And
treated.
almost
They
the
gotta be
work,
treated.
almost the work the next day.
And the 4 that already died after that incident,
Yeah.
because 8 in total have died, right?
Yeah.
4 that have died after that incident. The family should be getting
Yes,
$5 million
yes,
each.
yes,
No, not
yes,
something.
yes.
At least $5 million. But 10 is good. But at least, in my opinion,
I won't get into the numbers with you.
$5 million each. And that's I ain't gonna rest until something like that happen. It have to happen. So what are your views on today's RBDF Dawn? When juxtaposed with the BDF that we experienced in the 80s. Now that's similar
I
to
was
what
a
Granite
bit-
had asked, right?
I was a bit put off
Mhm.
the other night when you said to me how the structure was, because it would have never been heard of. You mentioned something about 10 foreign captains.
They got like 8 or
yeah.
10 captains today.
So
Right?
the first was not designed for that. And so if you're talking about that, then we really should be talking about a rear or vice admiral as being commander. Because there's no reason for you to still be a commodore. You have 8 captains.
1 Commodore,
Yeah, no.
1 Deputy Commodore.
But the first one wasn't designed for all of those.
It was
So,
never designed.
Yeah,
It's
so-
still so small. I mean, why would
Yeah.
you need all those captains?
to me, you don't need it. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't know because I don't know.
Maybe you
the-
need that amount of commanders.
But commanders are different.
But yeah,
Yeah.
but
There should only be one, at the most two captains.
so it's quite top heavy.
Very top heavy.
And the structures is kind of
But
lopsided.
to me, they got to be fighting over one another.
And then they got a whole heap of senior rates who are Force Chief Petty Officers. I understand they got over 100 Force Chief Petty Officers.
Oh, jeez.
I may be wrong in the numbers, right? But it's a huge number of Force Chief Petty Officers,
Yeah.
that you never dreamed the Force would come to.
No.
When I joined the Force, we had one, actually we had, Master Arms and Force Chief. That was David Duncan.
That's it.
And he wore it well. And then I think after him was
Peterson James.
Eden Green,
Peterson James.
Peterson James, and then Eden Green.
Yeah.
Right. And you know these people, and when they were Force Chief, they
Like
were
I
the
say,
Force Chief.
when, I don't know if you know the structure, but to me, from the way the defense was designed,
Mhm.
I can't believe that there's a need for 8 captains. I just that
I
strikes
am
me.
sure that there is no way
Yeah.
it would have been. I don't know what it is, Dawn,
Yeah.
but I think that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, I get
Anyway, we got a caller on the line. Let's see what our caller has to say. Caller, you've reached Maritime Matters. Hello.
Good, Nathan. I didn't get your name, but it's time to station to hear this conversation going on.
Thank you very much, sir. My name is Captain Glenn Bain, and my guest tonight, my very special guest, is former Commander Donald Weir.
Which Glenn Day needs to be got it back?
That's me, sir.
I mean, it needs to be sometime, we can about, I will tell them, Cameron, too, we shouldn't make a beat up.
You mean when I was a busboy at Lowe's?
Huh?
When I was a busboy at Lowe's?
No, by Gagarina.
Oh, I know, I never worked by Casarino.
Oh, okay. But what I have to say is, yeah, the gentleman in that taxi, they should have a memorial for them. Basically, like say, how we talk like an obelisk or some sea marker for sea men who died at sea. To you know, the sense was in every year to recognize that, you know, they fallen soldiers, you understand what I'm saying, and that's who you talked about. And they should be compensated. But one thing stuck on like aside from what you were talking about, I wanted for you to expand more on it. When you did that apprehension of the Cubans and just before you get to base, you have this release order, but you can get a couple of fish down get them Cuban. Now, my thing is, I think that has been going on for years and still going on today because we see a proliferation of illegal immigrants in this country and allowing for persons to just really get on a boat and come here and the next thing you know, they're citizens, Bahamians. They try for years to get their passport, trying to get passport and things, Bahamians. But these persons get passports granted to them, even though they came illegally. And like you mentioned earlier, that, you know, you got to leave us all alone, let that one come in. And it's like, well, it's telling you to stand off, don't do your job. And that's why we're probably in the problem we are in today. With all of this mayhem on the streets and in the school, police in the school, and the gang warfare. When we introduce other cultures in, I mean, our government should be more careful to screen people and to find out who these people are before you allow them into your society to mix amongst your citizenry. You know, I mean, it's bad because I mean, like, we were taught as kids, you know, to do the right thing and be honest and to play by the book and all these other things and doing not rob and stealing all that stuff. But then when the children are like in schools, they're disadvantaged in that fact that they come from legitimate parents and they are put in a situation where illegitimate and legitimate, they're all in one big pot, and then the police is manning everything.
Yeah, Paul,
you think we should still be moving in that direction, or we should try to find out who we are before we include all these other people as Bahamian, find what Bahamian is face. The people are already questioning what is a Bahamian. You see, we even have time to find out where we want to go from 73, if we go on board all kind of cultures. And right now, I mean, it's like this journey that we are on is, I don't know what this is. And it's including a lot of people who even belong in the mix. And it's, I mean, the government is the one who controls everything and police everything, and they say who's right, who's wrong. But it's wrong for a country so small to have such a large population of persons who come here illegally. And next thing you know, even in broadcasts right now with our census, it's one in English and the next one in Creole. I mean, do you think you're supposed to be after somebody before? Do you even 50 years old yet?
I think you said a mouthful. I'll tell you how I'll respond to that. Are you sure, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much for your contribution. And
thank you very much.
Like I said, you said a mouthful. The reality is, we are in a country where we have a lot of experience, as we indicated earlier, from people who have been in these organizations that are, you know, responsible for enforcement of some of these things, like immigration and the fisheries and all the rest of that. And once they pass on, once they retire, they never reuse. They have a lot of knowledge that goes to the grave with them, right? They can contribute heavily to us arresting some of these situations. But as far as people getting nationalized and all the rest of that, that's government policy. That's the way things are done in most countries. Yeah, we could do a better job than that. I think we have improved where it comes to actually abducting people by sea, by the fact that we have a lot more vessels to want to be spread out in Agua and Ragged Island and all the rest of that goodness. So as long as, you know, this country is the way it is, and I say in this country is the way it is, meaning even when you look at the family structure, right? We have, back in the day when I was a young boy growing up, we had discipline in the country. The discipline is basically gone, children today don't know how to say good morning and good evening to adults. Children today, they talk back at you. Their parents are right there, and the parents wouldn't allow you to say anything to their child. So I think that we, the generation, the parents' generation of this day, is really a big part of the problem when it comes to discipline in our country, because if each parent take care of discipline in their home with their children, and then that would not get out of hand. But some of these parents need to be disciplined. I mean, I can't expect the state to deal with parents, because when you can't lock up a mother who has 4 children because one of the children do something foolish. How you gonna lock up what happened to another 3 children? The state can't take care of them 3 children. So we really need to put programs in place, like sporting programs, right? So that children can have more things to do. Even in the community, we have parks, but do they have any programs for any of those parks? No. So what are the children going to do? They're going to migrate to where the fellas hang out on the blocks and this and that, because they have really nothing to do. So sporting program could be, back in my day, we were outdoors, you know. Today kids are mainly indoors, except those who can't afford the games that they play all day, right? So we can do some things to cause children to want to come outdoors. And again, we can't go into the homes and discipline the children. So we got to be stuck with that for a while, and we all got to put our heads together, and we all got to do our part. And maybe in doing so, you know, we would move toward a better country in moving forward. Okay, we got another call on the line. Let me just see what this caller wants to tell us. Calling you live on Maritime Matters. Hello.
Live on Maritime Matters. Yes, I just want to contribute to that line of thought that you just alluded to a few minutes ago when was the caller. And I think one of the things you spoke about programs to get kids outdoors and the like. I think one of the programs we could implement is getting young people to go to the sea. We have a lot of summer programs, but nothing that exposes our young kids to the ocean and to the sea, where our adventure, we all immerse ourselves in that adventure of the sea. And maybe like we have the backward training ship and the like, the government can invest in a vessel, or even the defense. We also have a sailboat in the past that we once utilized to expose young people to the maritime field. And so maybe that is something that we could look at futuristically, and people like your esteemed guest Don and all of us who could play a role, could actually play a role in training and instilling the discipline and the into these kids. Because the reality is this, and I'm going to end right now. The reality is the family structure as we know it does no longer exist. Mother, father, moral, teaching moral principles and values, Sunday school, village growing up a kid. That no longer exists, and when we pass on, if we don't push those things into our kids, they're not going to have it. So I think we have an opportunity, and I think that the show is so fitting to push some of these opportunities, and we just need to embrace them, and hopefully there'll be a place for PDF and other law enforcement agencies to come in and put a little bit of discipline into the youth, because they're not going to get it if we don't expose them to it. Thank you.
Absolutely, Herbie. Thank you very much for that contribution. Yeah, and you know, over the years, we've developed certain organizations to try and capture some of the young people that want to do well in society. Because you're not going to catch some no matter what you do. You're going to lose some. But what about those who you may be able to catch? The Royal Bahamas Defense Force started the Royal Bahamas Defense Force Rangers many years ago. And that Ranger program is responsible for the discipline of many young people of school age. I've watched them at SC McPherson and elsewhere, and you can see the discipline pouring out of that group. And if that group could be expanded, that would be a big help to this country. Maritime Cadet Corps is another organization where we have hundreds of students between grade 10 and 12 joining in and signing on to the Maritime Cadet Corps, and they learn about ships and they learn about the sea, and a lot of them filter into universities and schools in Canada, schools in Florida, schools here in Nassau, because they want to move into that trade, that maritime field. And you know, a lot of them reach dead ends, but somehow we got to be able to find a way that when they reach the end where they're going, we can grab their hand and give them a hand up or hand over to organizations like ship owners and certain ships, so that they wouldn't reach dead ends and still be looking for a job outside of maritime. Then we always had the Technical Cadet Corps. I don't know if that still exists, but I think that was BPL, Batelco back in the day. They were basically, them in BC, they were basically bringing students in as young technical persons, getting exposed to what they do, and a lot of those students would have filtered into those. But again, like I said, when we were growing up as kids, we had, me myself, I used to play Pony League baseball. I used to play basketball with certain teams in the summer from the area. You go on the ball field and you play roundings, you play this, you play that. But you know, we didn't have the softball programs that I knew about. But there are programs that we need to start having in the community. And when we used to have park league basketball, certain area against certain area, those are things that cause communities to come together. Okay, so we got another call on the line. We got a few minutes left, so let me just take this call and be right back. Maritime Matters, hello.
Yeah, calling back, I have a good idea. There's a call of the last call you mentioned about like the kids going on the sea and like spend time on the sea so that they can develop their minds to other aspects of life. But I think a little deeper than the last call in. And I think about a good thing, like instead of like you mentioned like these parks and all these sports and whatever, we got enough of that right now. We got an arena that they're building, a baseball arena for millions of dollars, problem pass, problem come, still pumping millions in it, right? No manifestation and nothing. Only for baseball players. But I see better than that, right? Like, how about, like, these young kids, right? Go building, man. Go building. And that's something to develop their minds. I'm talking about before they even think about going on the sea. You learn how to build boat. And you know what? That's what we need around here. How many boat buildings do we have?
My brother, you're right on it. We could do a lot of things in maritime. We could do a lot of things in all those areas. But again, you know, we need the discipline to come from ourselves too, with our children.
Yeah, but what do you like in this country? The kids, right? Like even in schools, right? They have a special day dedicated for play day, okay? To have fun day, okay? We have too much fun in this country. We have too much party. And look to the weekend, talk, see what it is from them. Then they can take these kids and direct them, because these young kids, right, their minds, I'm talking about brilliance on the bed. If we let be, we don't let be. We put them in places like, okay, we're going to have the kids around a church, a preacher. The kids don't want that. The kids want to develop their minds so they can do something with their hands, so that when they grow up to be an adult, they'll have something that they'll cherish, and they ain't be in no gang or nothing. And that's the problem right there, you know.
I with you, brother. I with you 1,000 times. I thank you so much for that contribution. We got to run to a break now, and then we'll be right back on Maritime Matters.
One-on-One Pharmacy, our friendly staff is ready to serve you. Visit us today for all your prescription and over-the-counter needs at our East Street South or Charles Saunders Highway locations. We're open Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and from 9 to 4 on Sundays. In a rush? Send your refill scripts online at oneononepharmacy.com or ask about our convenient pickup service. One-on-One Pharmacy, providing personal health care with people at heart.
Welcome again to Maritime Matters. My special guest for tonight, former commander of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, my mentor, Commander Donald WEIR. Brother WEIR, let me just ask you, before I let you close out with just giving a remark, let me just, before I get in any trouble, go back to my sponsors. My sponsors tonight are One-on-One Pharmacy, and you just heard the commercial. My good cousin Shantia and a good mother who's my first cousin Stephanie. Yeah, they got a thing going on where you need the medical supplies. You just go on in to One-on-One Pharmacy. They're located on East Street and Charles Sanders Highway. Go in there, you'll be treated like a king, like a queen, however you want to run it. And I'm sure you let them know Maritime Matters sent you, and they'll give you that little extra going on there. I don't know if no discount, but something. We also sponsored by BMC, Bahamas Maritime Connection. Yeah, that's us. And thirdly, totally secured security and investigation services. They are headquartered in 8 Mile Rock, Grand Bahama. For all your security guard duties or security investigation needs, please give my good friend Andrew Starr a call. 819-8944. He and his certified security team will see you straight. That's totally secured security. 819-8944. Thank you very much. Now we'll move on to give Commander WEIR an opportunity to just close out with his thoughts. And if you want to give a shout out to anybody in particular, this is your time, Commander.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Glenn. I really appreciate the opportunity. And I was just in the break letting you know that I think this is a beautiful show. I can see you going from strength to strength with it. I think there are a lot more people that you can get on. And I think if you do so, we can spread the word that this whole maritime business is such big money, such big business, and we really in the Bahamas, we're not tapping into it at all.
I agree.
And I think it's sad because there's water all around us. We can't get away from the water.
No, sir.
And it's lovely to be here, lovely to see what you're doing, and I appreciate the fact that you give me this opportunity. But I'd like to say that maybe there are times when we can get a regroup, a reset. Maybe your show is going to be the jumping off point for that.
Be more than happy to accommodate that.
And I think reaching out to the powers that be, and hopefully they're listening, that some of the things you said tonight, I think, should be ringing in their ears.
I hope so.
And I would love to come back when we get some more concrete business that we can.
I'll definitely ask you to come back, Dawn, as soon as we get past this flamingo stuff, because the whole of next month, we're going to have flamingo.
And I think that's so necessary.
Yeah, that's very necessary because there's a lot of stories to be told, my friend.
Yeah, and for me, we can't push it under the rug.
No, and for the people that died during that incident, David Tucker, Edward Williams, Austin Smith, and Fenric Stark, and to their families, I say thank you very much for lending them to us. And the people that died after that incident, Amos Road, Wilfred Sands, Oscar Miller, Leo Kirby, again I say to their families, thank you for lending them to us. And those that are still alive, Anthony Allens, Peterson James, Gregory Curry, Denzel Clark, Trevor Sands, John Wallace, Whitfield Neely, Willard Sanders, Anthony Russell, Eugene Thompson, Cladwell Farrington. I say to you gentlemen, I salute you. And I have to apologize for the country for not doing for you what should be done. And I am going to be pushing and pushing because something has to be done for you guys. You were exposed to something no other Bahamian will ever be exposed to. And with that, I say good night to everybody from Maritime Matters. Thank you very much.